My name is Jenny Walsh, and I'm married. My husband is Brent, and I have two wonderful kids, Gideon Walsh and Eden, and I have one on the way. I have 7 years experience as a registered nurse, and again, like I said, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, and I'm also a doTERRA wellness advocate. As long as I can remember, I've wanted to be a nurse since I was a little kid. I always liked to take care of people, especially physically. When anyone had a cut or a scrape, I always wanted to be the first one to rush and give them a Band-Aid or whatever. So I went to school for nursing, became a registered nurse, and have about 7 years experience. Most of that time is in the hospital on a general medical unit. You know, when you're in nursing school, you aren't taught natural options for healthcare. Like, I don't remember anything being taught about natural options. So when I got introduced to essential oils, it was a foreign world to me. Like, it was a whole new concept. I didn't have that trust in essential oils like I did in modern medicine, which is really so backwards. Why wouldn't you go to changing what you eat, focusing on a healthier lifestyle, going to things natural to help support your body? You know, everyone uses the word empowered a lot, but it's the perfect word. It's empowering to have essential oils right at your fingertips when something goes on. And the more you use them, the more success you're gonna have. I can still focus on people's physical needs. Even though I'm not working as a nurse, I can still hear their problems and help them come up with solutions that are going to really help them and help change the quality of their life. It's been the perfect fit for me because I still get to do what I felt called to do. And I get to do it while I stay at home with my kids and get to spend that quality time with them as well. So it was really just a huge answer to prayer. And I'm also providing for my family. So it really just was the perfect fit for us.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage, Russell Butters.
Can you believe we're down to our final 2 hours? Isn't that kind of sad? But we have some important announcements, so make sure you have your phone out. I'm going to give you some important dates, but we're going to talk about some fun things coming up. But doTERRA's desire to educate is at our very core. In fact, you'll find it in our mission statement. We at doTERRA are committed to sharing the life-enhancing benefits of therapeutic-grade essential oils and enhanced wellness products to the entire world. We'll do this by, among other things, providing educational opportunities for all people interested in learning how therapeutic-grade essential oils can be used as a self-care wellness alternative. We have had an amazing few days here at convention and wanted to remind you that you can still purchase the convention video on demand for the next 14 days to watch your favorite presentations at your leisure. Now, I think they did edit out all my hair and my costumes, but you'll be able to see all the other presentations. Go to doterraonlineticket.com for more information and use your special convention code that's found in your convention event guide. Over the next few months, we're taking convention on the road. So get this, we are hitting over 100 cities in the US and Canada. So we want to make sure you bring your friends and family for a great evening of product education and really get a sense of what convention was all about. Also, only at post-convention tours, there will be a post-convention kit available. For those of you that missed out on this year's kit, you'll be able to purchase it at the event, and it'll include most of the items, not the exact same as the kit at convention, but it will be available at post-convention tour. So check out the fall tour site on doterra.com for more information about the locations. Going to next year, we have an amazing lineup of events that are already in store. Whether you want to join us for just a couple hours or a whole evening or full day of education, of training, we have the event just for you. So first, Wellness Summits. How many out there have attended a Wellness Summit before? Awesome. Thank you. So Wellness Summits are periodically offered to educate and empower people with a deeper understanding of what makes Doterra the world's premier distributor of CPTG quality essential oils. So whether you're just getting started or a seasoned wellness advocate, you'll learn how you can prosper physically, emotionally, and financially with Doterra. So watch for information in newsletters and on doterra.com for the 2018 Wellness Summit schedule. All right, so now we have something in addition to that that's very exciting. Next year, we're going to host 6 multi-day regional events focused on essential oil education with our top leaders, executives, and scientific and medical advisors. Yes, those were great. Locations for next year's events are Anaheim, California, Chicago, Illinois, Dallas, Texas, Denver, Colorado, Orlando, Florida, and Washington, D.C. Our Canadian teams are working to finalize their dates and locations, and those will be announced shortly. So stay tuned for exciting news about these events, including, get this, at all those events, a special Diamond Day. So that will be coming. Bringing education right into your home, the Empowered Life Series is Doterra's monthly webinar designed to bring you the very best in essential oil education. Join experts as they explore a different topic each month and help you become empowered to take care of yourself and your family. Go to doterra.com to sign up for next month's webinar. So, I know you're probably wondering this, right? When is next year's convention? So you can officially mark your calendar for 2018 for September 19th through 22nd in Salt Lake City for our global convention. So make sure you get those on your dates, on your calendar. Pre-registration for next year's convention goes live today at noon. For all here, you receive a special price of $125. Registration for all other attendees will begin in March of 2018. Additionally, activity tickets, hotel room blocks will be made available next spring. We've had such a great time with you this year. We thank you and look forward to seeing you next year. Have a great rest of the afternoon.
And now, please welcome to the stage Doterra's Vice President of Corporate Relations and European Markets, Kirk Jowers.
Rise up, Doterra. You're amazing. It is so great to be with you today. Good afternoon, everyone. So happy to kick this off this afternoon. It's been an incredible convention thus far. I have a lot of favorite parts, but I really loved recognition this morning. I've now been with Doterra a little over 2 years, and I am so enjoying getting to know you. You inspire me. Your stories inspire me. It's exciting to watch the growth and progression of each of you. A lot of your Doterra stories seem quite similar in the beginning, but then they blossom into such unique and amazing things. Let's see how many of you think that I'm telling your story or some version of your story. You are introduced to the oils. You start using the oils. You fall in love with the oils. You feel empowered by the oils, and then because you can't help yourself, you start to share these great gifts of the earth. Have I lost anyone yet? At about this point, your stories start becoming more unique, but there are still some common roots that draw us, that draw you together. People begin to feel your love and passion. They come to you, and then sometimes, almost inadvertently, you begin to have a business. Before you know it, you become a fully active participant in the gig economy. Early on, it is just something on the side. I mean, you have a life. You can only devote a couple of hours a week to Doterra. You would love to spend more time. You'd love sharing, but honestly, you don't have time for more than a couple of hours. Your attorneys, your singers, your bull riders, your coaches, your teachers, your nurses, your mothers, your fathers. You got stuff going on. But there is something about Doterra. Doterra grabs hold of you, and it is such a wonderful and fulfilling way to give your family and others better wellness, more empowerment, and a veritable cornucopia of opportunities. Nevertheless, you are accountants, yoga teachers, engineers, IT specialists, and pilots. So back to where you are comfortable. But somebody has to give the people what they want, right? People they need their essential oils and oil in every house. Who is it going to be? Who is it going to be? That's right, it's not you, who? It is you. So yes, so now the Doterra journey really begins. You dive in and you rise up. Your world is turned upside down and you have never been happier. You cannot believe that you are working so hard and still you cannot wipe that smile off of your face. And then you are here. With recognition, we see an important milestone of individuals and families transformed. It is such a wonderful and exciting progression to watch. And I love the celebration. I love the tears and the laughs. So much goes into that walk across the stage. And then I see what I love most. Your dreams are for others. Your family draws closer. Your extra time and fun start going to bless the lives of everyone around you. You build multi-purpose learning centers in Mexico. You work in orphanages in Bolivia. You serve in refugee camps in Greece. You build schools and hospitals in Haiti. You do your part to bring light in the darkness of sex trafficking. And you help our brothers and sisters who are suffering from the devastation of Hurricane Harvey. You are making a tremendous impact in the lives of your family, your friends, and the community. You are making a difference. You are making your community and the world a better place. I know a guy who was a direct salesman for over 50 years who continues to bless my life. My dad. Here he is with my mom and Miss America at a company recognition. And right about now, you're probably trying to figure out which one should be wearing the tiara. My mom is the beautiful one in the blue dress. And yes, the impact you're making at home is the one I experienced firsthand as a child. To me, this person-to-person selling meant my dad could come to all of my basketball games and scouting events. He was often the only dad in attendance. He worked hard, he worked really hard, but he had the freedom to prioritize. And I always knew that I was a priority. Family came first, and person-to-person selling not only made that possible, but it brought us closer together. It's a picture of my daughter, Katie, now age 23, at a trade show with her grandpa. We loved attending and supporting my dad and his events. And my dad loved selling high-quality cookware, china to people, and he had a lot of pride in the product and his service. I still remember one day in high school when my dad took a call very late in the evening from an 83-year-old woman who lived about 45 minutes away, who he had sold over 20 years ago. Her handle had come off, and my dad was going to drive out there and screw it on because she had family coming over the next day. My high school mind couldn't take that in. Dad, I said, just tell her to get a screwdriver and screw it back on. It is crazy for you to drive way out there at this time of night. He gently guided me by saying, when I sold her this cookware, I made a commitment that not only did the cookware have a lifetime guarantee, but so did my service. Plus, it'll be Yeah, congrats. That's my dad. He's here today. So thank you, Dad, for that lesson. That will warm my dad's heart. Plus, he said, he always has a twinkle in his eye, it'll be fun to see her again after all these years. And off he went. He had a great career, loved his products, and really loved the people. But he shakes his head when I show him Doterra's retention numbers. What? I could have done that. That would have been nice. I think he also shakes his head a little when he thinks about how many oils we all use every day. He himself goes through about a tube of Deep Blue every week. So people do not need, and the other thing that kind of drives him nuts is people do not need new pans every month, but they need their oils. We have it good at Doterra, right? Yes, we do. And now here we are, and thanks to you, this is the largest corporate convention in the entire state of Utah for the 3rd year in a row. Thank you for being here. Russell just announced you'll be here next year. We'll be even bigger. More than 30,000 of you are here today from 68 different countries. Thank you for making that trip. Last year, the governor of Utah recorded a video to thank all of you and each of you for coming to Utah. He congratulated you for being part of the largest essential oil company in the world and the largest convention in the history of Utah. He asked me to welcome, thank you, and congratulate you again. Thank you. Since we met last September, it has been a busy and wonderful year for Doterra. I know it's been a busy and wonderful year for you as well. You have sold Doterra essential oils in 128 countries around the world. You have shared Doterra with your friends and loved ones, and we now have signed up more than 5 million customers worldwide. Wow, and thank you. We're not sitting still either, as you have learned. We know we're trying to look around the corner and trying to figure out how hard you are working to keep up. We have grown to nearly 2,000 employees in the U.S. and another 500 internationally, and we are expanding our campus to keep up with your growth. As you have learned, we had a large groundbreaking event just a couple of weeks ago. Upon completion of this 3rd phase of growth, Doterra will have more than 3,500 employees worldwide and nearly 1 million square feet of professional office, medical, manufacturing, and fulfillment space spanning 100 acres. It's going to be amazing. It will allow us to remain at the top with the most advanced essential oil manufacturing facility in the world, and we will be even better prepared to meet global demand for years to come. Part of the groundbreaking was our new medical campus. You have heard a lot about this development over the past few days, and it's something you will learn even more about in the next few months and years ahead. This new facility will allow us to perform statistically significant clinical-based research about the effectiveness of our oils, all while disrupting healthcare in a very powerful way. Are you ready to come on that journey? Yes, I love it. I know we are. We are ready. And as we boldly forge our path into the future, it has been gratifying to receive recognition for our growth and innovation, and all of this is thanks to your passion and commitment. Allow me to share just a few of the celebrations that you have earned these past few months. In October of 2016, Doterra was named the International Company of the Year by the World Trade Association of Utah. We were the first direct selling company to ever receive this distinction. So congratulations to all of you. Doterra also was awarded with the Best of State Award for Essential Oils Botanicals for the 3rd year in a row. I keep meaning to research, I just didn't get to it, whether there are any other essential oil companies headquartered here, because we just keep winning. What's that? My presidentials? They tell me, these guys tell me there are other essential oil companies here, so that makes me even feel better about this award. Congratulations. We were ranked #1 by Utah Genius again this year for registering more trademarks than any other company in the state. Doterra was named an economic engine in 2015 and ranked #1 in 2016, and we are in the running for the same top spot again this year. And we were recently recognized by Forbes as one of the best mid-sized employers in the entire United States for the second year in a row. We love our employees, and they love you, and I know you love them. Thank you. And there's a few slides I could put in here, but our CEO, David Sterling, was recently honored as the first ever recipient of the Distinguished Entrepreneur Award for the David Eccles School of Business, a well-deserved and extremely prestigious award. Congratulations to Dave and his amazing family. But it's not just other businesses and media that are taking notice of Doterra. We've received a lot of love this year from notable figures in professional sports, entertainment, and beyond. This video will introduce you to just a few of them.
If you're given a skill and a gift, there's a higher purpose for it.
When you see me, you see an NFL player. But who am I? First of all, I'm somebody who's been created with a purpose.
For me, faith plays a huge role. I retired after the 2016 Olympic Games. I was very blessed to also be a part of the 2012 Games.
I'm ready to compete as the first Ghanaian ever in history going head first in the scalping event in the 2018 Olympics.
It's been a really cool discovery of different ways that we can go about taking care of our body and just living in general. I mean, that deep blue that's my best friend.
And yeah, man, I wish I had oils back then. That would have been a whole different game.
There's so many ways where I use the oils.
You know, I love to put peppermint definitely in my helmet just to be able to focus and be alert as I'm sliding head first.
Aren't they amazing? I'm sorry, I watch that. I know how hard they work. I know how hard you work, and I get a little emotional when I see this. I wish I had more time to acquaint you with even a fraction of all of the incredible people using Doterra to enhance their performance. Still, let me just share a little bit about a few of our performance advocates. NFL running back Tim Hightower. After 4 years in the NFL, yes, we love Tim. Tim was sidelined due to a gruesome injury. He came back and had to take some more time off because of even worse infections. But he finally did make his total comeback and had an incredible couple of years with the New Orleans Saints. Last season, he was even awarded the Ed Block Courage Award. He is now primed for a great run with the San Francisco 49ers. Tim has a wonderful family who spent some time with us at Doterra. I just had to show one of my all-time favorite Instagram posts. Tim credits the continued support from his family, chronicled faith, commitment to Doterra essential oils, and living a holistic lifestyle for his comeback and continued success as a pro NFL running back. Shoshana Bean is a veteran of the Broadway stage and #1 US and UK R&B recording star, recently played Elphaba on Wicked. Spoiler alert, you will hear her incredible voice a little later this afternoon. Team USA captain at the 2016 Games, 2016 Olympic bronze medalist, 2012 Olympic silver medalist, and 2014 world champion, volleyball star Krista Dietzen. Krista is here with us at convention. Akwasi Frimpong is a Dutch-Ghanaian sprinter, bobsledder, and Olympic hopeful skeleton athlete. Please say hi to Akwazi when you see him and wish him luck as he strives to be the second ever Winter Olympian from Ghana. Liz Freeman is a professional skydiver, avid base jumper, and an aerial camera stunt woman. She is tougher to recognize without her suit, but she is here as well at convention. Oh, wait, that's not Liz, that's Emily. And now at least I know what that thumping sound is on our roof every morning, moments before Emily walks into her office. Carrie Herman is a professional freestyle skier. She is a 5-time X Games silver medalist, Doterra champion, and world champion. She has won 4 gold medals, 7 silver medals, 5 bronze medals, representing the United States in various competitions all over the world. Carrie Herman is here, even though she had a femur transplant 2 weeks ago. Thank you for being with us. Alev Kelter is a national hockey and soccer medalist and Olympic rugby player who led her team at the Rio 2016 Summer Olympics, and world champion surfer and paddleboarder Jamie Mitchell. Jamie is considered to be one of, if not the world's elite ocean athletes. He is a world champion open ocean long distance paddler, big wave surfer, stand-up paddleboarder, and international swell chaser. Finally, I could just keep going. NFL wide receiver Brandon Cooks, also known as the Archer, is Tom Brady's most lethal target on the New England Patriots this year. He is so fast, and he loves his essential oils to keep him fast. I hope you've had a chance to meet some of these individuals the past few days, or perhaps you participated in the yoga class with them and led by the incredible Elena Brower, one of the world's foremost yoga teachers. They are great people, great performers. And if you'll indulge me for 2 more minutes, allow me to share just a few other fun mentions from the past year. Our founder and CEO, David Sterling, was featured in Forbes Korea. High School Musical fans, actress Vanessa Hudgens loves Doterra's Serenity Blend and said, "Some people take smoke breaks, I take essential oil breaks." That's a good call, Vanessa. Erwin Valencia is the director of training and conditioning for the New York Knicks, and he utilizes essential oils for overall conditioning and whole body recovery with the Knicks. Erwin spent 2 days at Doterra headquarters during the NBA season to learn more about the oils and other Doterra products. And the word is getting out. Another top professional sports team called and said that, yeah, of course its players all use Deep Blue, but wondered if there are other ways to utilize the essential oils. For example, as coach asked, can the oils help them to keep their focus at key times? You see, they would go and beat one of the best teams, and then 3 days later they would lose to one of the worst teams. Yes, there is an oil for that. And they asked if there are oils that can help them rest since they are on the road almost constantly. Yes, there are oils for that too. It is fun to watch these great athletes adopt Doterra so passionately and effectively. And according to the star player of this team that went pretty deep in the playoffs, he called and he said, quote, "We were diffusing like crazy before each playoff game." I hope to be able to share more about this collaboration soon. 4 weddings and a funeral fan, Andy McDowell recommended Doterra essential oils as the perfect holiday gift. Actress, model, TV personality, and former Miss USA Ali Landry is here at convention with us and has been giving Doterra lots of love on Instagram. Any Parks and Rec fans? Rashida, yes, it's a great show. Rashida Jones named Doterra's On Guard in her InStyle interview as her travel essential, echoing so many other celebrities, and I know all of us. We have so much in common. The assistant coach for the Boston Celtics, Micah Shrewsbury, has been utilizing oils with his team thanks to his wonderful wife, Molly, who is a wellness advocate. And we've been honored to receive a lot of love from famous YouTubers, Instagrammers, and bloggers, but we haven't lost sight of what really unites us. Mark told you about the great work of Healing Hands Foundation, and several speakers have told you about the incredible results we have seen from our co-impact sourcing partnerships. On the corporate side, since we last met at last year's convention, Doterra has contributed to 386 different organizations around the world, including donating playgrounds and an autism sensory guarding, hosting a women's leadership luncheon that provided over $500,000 in scholarships for needy women, and supporting the United Angels Foundation for parents and families of children with special needs. With you, we helped rebuild Haiti after devastating Hurricane Matthew, and you saw that video. We have worked with Habitat for Humanity and hosted food drives in numerous cities. So many wonderful people working on such deserving causes. And as you know, on Friday you joined with us in charity with the charity Days for Girls to set a Guinness Book of World Record for assembling the most personal hygiene kits in 1 hour, actually 36 minutes. You were amazing. And we all quietly celebrated together in a courtroom this summer. When we had the chance to stand up for what is right, defend how this company was started, defend the incredible culture and company you and we have worked so hard to create together. The jury vindicated us on every single count. Thanks to each of you. Thank you for seeing this future and sticking with us now and just simply looking forward. Thank you for loving doTERRA. Thank you for building teams of such wonderful people. Thank you for helping to create such an incredible company. The best is yet to come. Thank you. Thank you.
Just like my country, I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. We gonna rise away, time to take a shot. We gonna rise away, time to take a shot.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage doTERRA Blue Diamond, Ruth Goff.
Thank you all so much. My friends, it is so humbling. Thank you. It is so humbling to be here with you today. Has it not just been the most exhilarating 2.5 days that we've had together, learning about the even broader mission of doTERRA, recognizing that we are more prepared than ever to truly offer the world an East meets West natural first approach to wellness. It's so exciting. We are making history. What a privilege it is that we get to be a part of it. As we've learned at the feet of experts and listened to the inspiring words of our leaders, I've had this overwhelming sense of gratitude that just keeps rising up within me. I feel ready to join this great mission to disrupt healthcare, to change the world. Our time is now. Are y'all ready? Yeah? So who's here for the first time? Raise your hands high. Who's here for the very first time? Whoa, look around, guys. That's awesome. I'll never forget the very first time I came to convention. 3 years ago, I came to convention alone. I arrived to convention knowing that doTERRA products were powerful and they were pure. They had made a dramatic impact for me and my family. But it was at that convention that I truly started to comprehend the mission and the heart of doTERRA. You see, it was there that I came to realize that the very same doTERRA products that had changed my life were literally changing the lives of millions of others around the globe in very powerful ways. As I came to understand the bigger mission of the Healing Hands Foundation and the purpose and the power of our co-impact sourcing initiatives, it became very clear to me that doTERRA wouldn't just change my life and other product users like me, but that doTERRA's mission was bigger. Our purpose is to enrich and bless the lives of every person involved in our processes. It was at that convention that I began to feel the heart of doTERRA and to grasp its mission. And to say the very least, that was empowering. It was at that conference that something started to awaken within me. As Emily Wright shared with us at that convention her purpose in Doterra, her desire to bring light and hope and healing into the hearts and homes worldwide. I sensed that purpose start to rise up within me. Emily pointed out that many of our lives had been impacted enormously because of Doterra. And it was then that she expressed her heartfelt desire that those of us whose lives had been changed would consider sharing the wonderful gifts that had made such an impact for us. When she made that invitation, I experienced something that I can only describe as clarity. I felt something start to awaken within me, and I knew that this was something that I could do. In fact, I knew it was something that I was meant to do. Although I had walked into that convention feeling like many of us feel from time to time, full of self-doubt, with an overwhelming sense of unworthiness. When Emily asked for people willing to join her in this great mission, it took every ounce of strength and self-discipline in my tiny little body to not stand up right then and there and say, I will, Emily, I will join you. But today, from this stage, I am here to declare my firm determination that developed on that day. For the rest of my life, with every breath that God grants me, I intend to join with every single one of you to lift and love and bless and serve and educate and inspire, to share the good gifts that I have been given, to be a wellness advocate. Because really, that is who we are. That is what we do. As wellness advocates, we just look for and see the good in others. We shine our light for others when theirs are dim. And we see potential in others that oftentimes they don't even see in themselves, because we know and have experienced for ourselves that within us all there is a light. It's a divine and powerful light that connects us to our higher self and to one another. That light helps us to understand and have a true concept of who we are and why we're here. It's this same light that leads and directs us in our life, that helps us to feel and understand our mission and our purpose and our worth. But for far too many of us, we experience darkness. Perhaps some of you here today have yourself or someone you love who experiences these sensations. Darkness can take hold for a million different reasons. Sometimes we feel disconnected from our light within because of chemical or physical imbalances in our bodies or minds. Sometimes we just have very difficult life circumstances. Sometimes we have problems with addiction or devastation. The reasons are endless, but the end result of this darkness is always the same. Little by little, living in darkness, we forget who we are and why we're here. We lose sight of our worth and begin to question our purpose and our value. And in that darkness, we begin to lose hope. Living without hope is exhausting and painful. I know, because that is where I was 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I was the picture of disempowerment. And although I was super, super good at wearing that perfect little mask of everything's okay, in reality, I had been trying to deal with too much for too long, and I was near a breaking point. On the outside, it might have seemed like everything was picture perfect. I mean, this was the social media image. Let's see. Do you guys see this? The social media image that we're all so good at displaying. Perfect family, perfect life. I was married to McDreamy. We had 5 beautiful kids. We had just purchased our first home, and we were thriving in our faith and in our careers. Andrew was a doctor in training, and I was busy with a flexible career that allowed me all kinds of freedom. Everything on the surface seemed to everyone around us that everything was perfect. But under that mask, things were anything but okay. You see, that middle daughter there, Lillian, she lives her life on the spectrum. And our 2 sons, Benjamin and Noah, deal with severe respiratory issues. As their mother, I felt powerless to help my children. Andrew was working about 80 or 100 hours a week as a busy medical resident. I was left to raise our family and deal with my church responsibilities and home responsibilities and to somehow try and make ends meet. And I felt like I was drowning. And consider this irony. Professionally, I'm a yoga therapist and meditation instructor. It is my job to teach people how to breathe. But at that time in my life, I couldn't even breathe. You see, for years, I'd been experiencing severe digestive issues, which had led me to take part in clinical trials and undergo expensive and invasive medical procedures and take, all the drugs. But as they failed me and my condition deteriorated, it became the only option left, my doctors told me, the only option left was to remove my diseased bowel. But what was going in my bowel, I now understand, was deeply connected to what was going on in my mind. But so many people don't understand that connection. My gut was sick, my mind was sicker. I'm not gonna bore you guys with all the details, but I'm gonna suffice it to say that I was living in a state of continual darkness. And despite my very best efforts, I couldn't exercise or meditate or yoga or clean eat or positive think or pray or even medicate my problems away. I felt like a zombie. And it was at that point in my life that I had come to the conclusion, and I'm not proud of this, but I had come to the conclusion that perhaps the most brave and loving thing that I could do for this family that I love with every ounce of me, to fade away. To find a way to create some space where I imagined that someone much better than me could come and love my family in a way that I believed that I never could. And the weight of this darkness was crushing me. I had lost all faith that I had any power to change. I will forever be grateful that my friend Jackie Beauchamp listened to the light within her. And although she, like everyone else in our life, had no idea what was really happening in our home, she followed a prompting to share. She invited her dear friend Molly Dayton to fly out from Utah to teach a class in my home. That's right, Molly is amazing. And when Molly taught that class, something started to happen. My friends, sometimes you too are going to feel that call to serve. Sometimes it's not going to make any sense at all why you're getting that inkling inside that you need to share with someone. In fact, oftentimes when you try to share with people, they might feel resistant. They might reject you at first. But if you listen to and trust your instincts, trust your gut, I would just ask you, please do not give hope. Too many people out there have been through too many failed experiments, and it is hard for them to have faith in something that is as simple as little gifts from the earth. I mean, consider how one tiny drop of oil has changed and impacted your life. But that simplicity is sometimes not seen by everyone. The power is lost in them. But I'm asking you, I'm begging you, don't give up. Had it not been for my sweet husband, Dr. Andrew Goff, who followed his gut after hearing Molly's presentation in our home, seeing the potential for aromatic medicine in our life, I never, ever would have tried essential oils. They eventually changed my life. So no one ever guesses. Would you guys guess that it was Andrew the doctor who got Ruth the yoga therapist into doTERRA? Right? It's a little strange, but that's our story. And here from this stage, I'd like to take the opportunity because he does not get to hear it nearly enough. Andrew, you were right. Thank you. So Andrew, he's a good little doctor, right? And when my box of oils arrived at my home, he had written out an actual prescription of what I was meant to do with them. It was very simple but powerful steps. Just take your Lifelong Vitality and Terrazyme. Keep wild orange diffusing all of the time, right? This is what we tell people to do. And use digestion oil as needed throughout the day. In fact, it was so simple that even when things started to shift for me, They were so natural and so easy that I didn't even realize it. But then something changed, and I'm going to remember that day forever. It was a beautiful day outside, and I decided that instead of the regular homeschool, routine that we did with our children, it was a great idea to take our kids out to the Detroit Zoo for some hands-on learning. It was so much fun. So much fun, but it was really hot outside. And so then it made perfect sense to me that I should take my kids swimming at an outdoor pool. That was my 2 youngest daughters' first time ever swimming with their mom. It was a really magical sort of a day. And that night, when Andrew called to check in and see how we were all doing, he was totally floored to find out that I had just picked up some food for a picnic, and we were on our way out to a park to enjoy the beautiful evening. He was also floored to find, when he asked how I was enjoying my Doterra products, that I was not exactly sure if they were even working. Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing now when I think about it. But then he asked me something that changed my life. He said, "Ruth, do you remember the last time you felt up to doing any of these things with our kids?" And as I considered and reflected upon his inspired question, I literally had to pull our little minivan over to the side of the road because I became very emotional. I guess you'd call it a miracle. Because what happened to me in that moment, for the first time in as long as I could remember, was miraculous. I felt hope. And I had no idea what was happening or what was working or why it was working. But I knew that powerful things were starting to change. My friends, hope is one of the most powerful things in the entire world because it is the fuel to our light within. And although I had no idea what was happening, I knew that I was on the right path. I knew that things were shifting in our life. I had hope that things could change for us. And I knew in that moment, with every fiber of my being, that I didn't want to miss it. I knew that this was meant to be. And so I just stayed on this path. I just dived in head first. I started using essential oils on our kids and then on my clients. And I was a witness to miracle after miracle after miracle, which eventually led me to my very first Doterra Convention 3 years ago. And I came to that convention to learn more about the products that had changed my life. You see, that very night that Hope came back, I had enrolled in my very first class to understand why things were changing and how they were changing. I wanted to know everything that I could possibly learn about essential oils. And so I came to convention to get more information. But can you imagine how surprised I was that what I actually left convention with was a purpose and a mission of my own? Yet that convention was exactly where I was meant to be. And so, my friends, don't doubt for even 1 second that you are here for a wise purpose. That you too are being called to ignite or perhaps reignite your fire within. Because empowerment is powerful. It changes you in extraordinary ways. There's something even more powerful, though, than being empowered yourself. And I started to realize this after I left that first convention, when I very imperfectly, in fact, almost humorously imperfectly, began to share my love for Doterra and its mission with my whole heart. And like you, there's a ton of powerful stories and some really humorous, some even embarrassing stories that I could share about my journey in sharing Doterra over the last 3 years. But with your permission and theirs, there are 2 stories that inspire me and teach me more about empowerment that I would like to share with you today. My first story is about military specialist Tyler Tripp. He is the brave husband of beautiful Melissa Tripp, a wellness advocate, and the father to Riley and Cameron. Tyler served our country in 2013 and 2014 in Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. And it was there that Tyler learned the real costs of war. Physically, mentally, and emotionally, Tyler paid a great price for us. As Tyler explains it, the military is really good at teaching troops to be war fighters. But what they fail to tell you is that the real war starts when you get home. You see, while in Afghanistan, in addition to experiences that led Tyler to sustain some very serious physical injuries, he also experienced the devastating loss of his bunkmate and dear friend, Private First Class William Dawson. And in Tyler's words, you do not know him, but he died to protect you. Guys, this is the invisible burden that Tyler and so many others carry home with them. My friends, sometimes it's easier for us to recognize and honor the cost of those who died to protect us. But oftentimes we fail to see the real price paid by those first responders and veterans and firefighters and our police officers and our public servants who carry with them the burdens that they have personally experienced while they fight to protect us. Oftentimes, these living heroes fight with a darkness and a lack of hope that is devastating to both them and the ones that they love the most. And Tyler experienced this. He returned from the war still fighting a battle. And although he underwent surgery and other medical procedures to try and help his body and mind, he lived in constant pain and mental anguish. In fact, Tyler describes many times when he too longed for it all to end. Thank goodness for Cheryl Olson, a dear friend and wellness advocate who met Melissa at a vendor event. She began to teach and mentor Melissa and provided her with much needed hope and tools to empower herself, her children, and her husband. I'll never forget it. When Dr. Goff and I first sat down with Tyler and Melissa, he was on 32 powerful and potent prescription medications. Tyler and Melissa felt like their life was completely out of control, but Melissa is a fighter, and Tyler loves Melissa. Together, they were persistent and consistent. And if you have not heard Tyler Tripp talk about lifelong vitality and essential oils and how they completely set him free, you need to make it a point to do so, because his story will change you as it has changed me and hundreds of other veterans and first responders and other people lucky enough to be a part of their oily tribe. Tyler and Melissa now serve full-time in their Doterra business. They have been empowered, and now they work diligently at cultivating the freedom that allows them to empower others. They work for a great service organization. It's called Big Paws. You can see Tyler there with his service dog, Bane, who was given to him to help him in his recovery. Big Paws helps veterans and first responders in need. Tyler and Melissa serve with Big Paws. They serve in their Doterra organization because they have been empowered, and they now find meaning and purpose in empowering and mentoring others. So do you guys mind if he's here today? Can we let Tyler stand up? Thank you so much, Tyler and Melissa, for your service today. You guys see him? Thank you, Tyler and Melissa. On behalf of all of us, thank you so much for your service and for allowing us to share your story. The next powerful story that I felt led to share with you today is of my dear friends, Bill and Jody Hoffman. Now, this is their gorgeous family. We all call them the bunch because they have been blended and bonded together in love. Many of you know Jody best as the inspiring and very humorous leader of Oil My Goodness. But I first got to know Jody when she asked me to come and speak to her autism support group about what we were doing for our daughter to naturally help and support her journey. One thing led to another, and today Bill and Jody travel the country tirelessly, driving all over the place, sharing the joy and the beauty of Doterra essential oils and mentoring their oily tribe. Their work is very purposeful. As they were returning from one of these powerful trips just recently, Bill shared something that inspired me, and with his permission, I'm going to share it with you today. Bill said, "I took my wife out on a date tonight. No big deal, except it was. If I'd tried to take her on the date 2 years ago, she would have had a panic attack about the crowds. She would have made us leave that honky-tonk bar because the tables were sticky. She never would have let me take pictures of her. She would have hated the loud music. And she would have missed half of the fun of Nashville because I'm telling you, there's no way that her back would have allowed her to make it up all those stairs. But tonight, she went to the rooftop of every building we entered because the view was better. She took selfies in the crowd and at one point even handed me her camera and said, 'Take my picture.' For 5 years, I watched her make choices about what activities she could do based on her pain, anxiety, and limitations. It hurt me to see her hurt so badly, but there was nothing that I could do. Today, instead, I got to watch her run up to wherever she wanted to go without thinking twice. So I have to give credit where credit is due. Thank you, Doterra. Thank you, Lifelong Vitality. Thank you, Deep Blue. And because her group of 500 people would shoot me if I didn't mention it, thank you, Bergmont." Isn't that powerful? It's also inspiring for me to note that last week, Jody and Bill did something that I'm really not looking forward to. They dropped off their oldest son to college. And although their blended family, like many of ours, have sometimes felt the strain of financial burdens, because of the financial abundance that they have cultivated in their Doterra business, they were able to pay cash for their son's college tuition. That is empowering. Thank you so much, Bill and Jody, for allowing us to share your story. I cannot tell you how empowering it felt for me this morning as I watched these leaders and so many others walk across this leadership stage, celebrating them and all of their Doterra journey. And it stood out to me that this journey of Doterra and empowerment, it just keeps giving and giving and giving. Because not only has Doterra empowered me and my family, it has allowed me the opportunity to cultivate a space and shine some light, empowering others on their journey. But the biggest joy of all is to celebrate as they then turn around and shine their now bright light and hold space for their teams and teach their teams to do exactly the same thing. It's like this never-ending cycle of life-altering, hope-filled empowerment. This is what it means to be a Doterra wellness advocate. And this is what sets our products and our company, and especially this business model, apart from everything else. And you are at the center of it all. This is your work. This is your opportunity. Ask yourself, how many lives will you change because of your determination to advocate for wellness? Doterra exemplifies the culture of service, the culture of abundance, the culture of giving support and hope. Our leaders are taught to serve with their whole hearts, more concerned about where they are needed than with what they need. Because they know that as they make real and lasting impact in other people's lives, their influence and freedom and ability to do good in the world enlarges and expands exponentially. Yes, they are living testaments that as we choose to lead with a powerful purpose, our power increases and our purpose expands. I love this business because it is as natural as it is good. The more we love and lift and serve and bless, the more we experience being loved and lifted and served and blessed. As we are given, so we can give. As we plant that seed of hope, love grows forth. And love is the real deal of Doterra, right? Love is our real purpose. Pure love or charity is at the heart of everything that we do in Doterra. Has your life not been changed as you have been touched this week learning about this mission of love of Doterra? As we help those in need, have you not felt the call to serve bigger, to love bigger? This love, this charity, it is the purest and highest of all of the forms of human emotions. It is pure love, charity, but it's more than just giving service or gifts or time or money. Charity, love, it's the way that we live. It's the way that we lead. One of my greatest teachers and influential examples said it like this: charity is having patience with someone who's let us down. It's accepting weaknesses and shortcomings. It's accepting people as they truly are. It's looking beyond physical appearances and to attributes that will not fade throughout time. It is resisting the impulse to categorize others. Many of us here today have been the beneficiaries of this type of charity, this type of love. It's a pure love given when we least deserve it, and it is possibly the most transformational gift in all the world. We can receive this type of charity and love as doTERRA Wellness Advocates, but it is also our call to give it. Being a constant giver of this type of charity will change your life. It will set you free from negativity and judgment, and that is empowering. May we each consider today days that we can fill our hearts and minds and businesses with an increase of charity, because this love alone will have the powerful force that we now need to make the real difference that doTERRA is poised to make in the world. doTERRA is prepared to disrupt healthcare, but we are also poised to be in a powerful position to flood the world with light and love, not only with the gifts of essential oils and wellness products, but with hope and light. And my friends, does this world not need hope and light right now? We need it more than we ever have before, and you are the messengers. The way that we choose to leave today, to carry the spirit of this great convention, will shape our future. So it is time that we rise up. If right here, right now, you commit yourself to never, ever use an ounce of your energy to compete with or compare or judge or tear down anyone else in doTERRA, you will then be free to rise up. And together, combining each of our strengths and each of our abilities, we will be an unstoppable force for loving change and goodness in the world. We will be free to use every ounce of our energy to be messengers of this worthy message. And we will have the light within us to do the great work. And there is a lot of work left to be done. There are so many people out there today, maybe even some of you here right now, who still live in darkness, struggling with the weight of physical, mental, spiritual, and financial darkness. There are people at this very moment who have no idea how they're going to keep going. They might wear a mask. You might not know, but it is up to you and me to be so full of love that when those promptings, when those bits of inspiration come to us, we will know exactly what to do. If you don't care, who will? You are a wellness advocate. And as wellness advocates, we have been empowered. Being empowered means that we can then turn around to empower others. It is our time. And with a renewed purpose and determination, we can go forth now to empower with purpose. And then, if we do this with great love, to just stand back and watch as the whole wide world lights up. Because this is what it means to be a wellness advocate. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Jeremy Breckheisen.
So my message today is shaped both by Gallup and doTERRA. At Gallup, my job is to architect very large and very impactful programs that put people at the center of executive strategic decisions. I've worked with leaders at companies like Google, Virgin America Airlines, Charles Schwab, Wells Fargo, Facebook, Stanford Health, KinderCare Education. On the other side, my wife Melinda and I also work on Doterra together. 1 year ago, I told her, I'm going to be your next builder. And she told me that wasn't allowed because we're married. However, we joined Diamond Club, we focused on our team's strengths, and we recently became gold wellness advocates and were able to walk the stage today. I cherish my Doterra experience, and I'm super passionate about my Gallup mission. Now, when you know what Gallup knows, you make different decisions. Gallup has 80 years of research experience. We have the largest millennial research on the planet, unprecedented global studies of women, and the world poll that represents 98% of the world's populations. We track world hunger. We actually track human slavery. I thought about that as I walked some of the things this morning in some of the hardest countries to track it. We know the well-being of every country, the approval rating of every leader in the world. We know the unemployment rate for the world. We know the world employment rate. We track migration patterns, and we know where everyone wants to live someday. We have advice and analytics on everything that matters, and we solve some of the world's most important problems. So with all of that data and knowledge, if you were to ask our CEO, what is the single greatest discovery Gallup has ever had, he would know the answer right away. You see, in the 1930s, our founder, Dr. George Gallup, said if democracy is supposed to be based on the will of the people, someone should find out what that will is. Makes sense, right? So he developed a set of questions that he called the Great American Dream, and eventually became the Great Global Dream. Now, the answers were always around having your own family or owning your own property, worshiping the God that you want to worship, or peace or freedom. Well, in the 1990s and the 2000s, the answer changed for the entire planet. The will of the world changed. Imagine going home from work today and saying, you're never going to guess what happened, honey. The will of the world changed. I have a cool job. That's not on the teleprompter. The number one thing that people want to know now, or people want now, and it might not even resonate with all of you, but the number one thing is a good job. I want you to think about the implications of that. Imagine a woman in the 1950s saying family. And now imagine a woman today saying a good job. Their life decisions change dramatically. How many children they have, when they have children, if they have children at all, when they get married or if they get married at all. At Gallup, we wanted to understand how this change impacted the way people defined a good job and how it might have adjusted their expectations of companies and leaders. What we found was 6 massive shifts taking place today. People still want some of the things I'll show you on the left in the past, but the younger the generation, the more likely they will expect the items on the right. Remember, this slide here is going to represent all of Gallup's world poll data over the last 80 years. Millions of data points summed up in these 6 shifts. First, people want to get paid. That's still true. That hasn't changed. But more than a paycheck, they want a cause, a mission, a purpose. Something more inspiring than, we deliver our product in a great way. That's not inspiring. And Gallup found, this is shocking, Gallup found that only 1 in 5 people around the world are thriving on our measure of purpose. 1 in 5. Almost everyone is missing purpose, and they're searching for it. Many of you may feel that is part of your story at Doterra. You were searching for something. The second one, in the San Francisco Bay Area where I live, a city called Livermore, they call us Livermorons. Of course, they call us Livermorons, and that's super ironic because of how smart we are. But that was a joke. But we're famous in the Bay Area for satisfaction benefits like ping pong tables, free lunches, but people will buy their own lunch if they think they can be developed as a person. And people are tired of command and control bosses. Our generation was raised by parents who wrote songs about taking this job and shoving it. And Dolly Parton doing terrible yet deserving things to her boss in 9 to 5. What people really want is a coach. Now, that doesn't mean they want someone to just coddle them. No. If you think about the best coaches in the world, they don't coddle. Sometimes they'll grab you by the face mask and tell you some truths that you need to hear. A great coach cares about your development and the concept of us. A boss cares about their goals. Be a coach. The annual review is under attack because it's failed. The idea that we spend an hour judging you for failing to perform is surprisingly not motivating. What the whole world wants is to have immediate feedback in the moment. They want ongoing conversations. The world has learned that focusing on weaknesses, it doesn't work. We don't ignore them, but rather put all of our focus on the strengths of an individual. And lastly, people are less interested in building a career or climbing the corporate ladder, and much more interested in architecting a life. The lines have grayed between work and life with technology, but companies sometimes think it's okay for you to work at home, but then don't give you the flexibility to live your life at work. Here's the real problem. So the will of the world changed, right? The state of the workplace has not. Gallup has measured the levels of employee engagement around the world since the year 2000. And that level of engagement in the United States has it's barely even moved. After billions of dollars poured into engagement surveys, it turns out that no matter how many times you measure something, it doesn't get better unless you change something. And companies are not changing. One of our senior scientists at Gallup, his name's Alan Kruger out of Princeton, found that of the 10 million new jobs Gallup created in the United States, or not Gallup created, oh, that'd be awesome. Gallup created, I misspoke, that were created in the United States from 2005 to 2015, 94% of them can be categorized as alternative work, part-time jobs, independent contractors. Most people are not finding the traditional employment option anyway, like they used to. But in a world where everyone wants one thing and the workplace is selling another thing, it only makes sense that there's a search for an alternative. And sometimes that search is because they can't find a traditional job, but I think this room can attest sometimes people are purposely looking for something different because better will never be enough in a system that isn't serving you. And you are so not alone. 51% of US workers are looking for a new job right now. 91% of them had to switch companies the last time they changed positions. That's nearly everyone. This search is real. And I'm just going to speak to the women for just a little minute here. It's never been more real for women in America. 54% of working women with children under the age of 18 would prefer to stay home. Now, this number surprises a lot of people who think it should be a lot lower or even think it should be a lot higher. But this is what the women of America have told us. And according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, since the year 2000, there's been a slow and steady exodus of women leaving the labor force, dropping them from 59.9% to 56.7% of women in the workforce. In addition, a study conducted for the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis found a decrease in labor force participation among women in their prime age, between 25 and 54. The US now has one of the lowest labor force participation rates among women in this age group compared with 8 developed countries in the study. Women want something different than what businesses are offering. Now, Gallup conducted a study of almost 10,000 women across the United States and found that 70% of women who are employed and don't have children say they'd prefer to work outside the home. But that drops nearly in half for women who are employed and have children. The bottom line is that children change women's employment preferences. Because of this, at Gallup, we've concluded that the biggest competitor for female talent is not your rival companies, but rather a 4-foot-tall soccer player or a diaper-wearing toddler. Children matter, and most companies do not provide the kind of flexibility that honors the life of a mother. In addition, when considering a job move, 69% of women say the company's cause is also important to them. Millennial women do diverge from their predecessors on one important point. They place higher importance on a company's cause than do women in other generations, and they value it above brand or reputation. Gen Xers and baby boomers, on the other hand, give considerably more weight to a company's brand or reputation than to its cause. So the next time that you talk about Doterra, remember that the company and the mission matter. It's an important part of the conversation. Finally, 66% of women say the social aspect of a job is a major reason why they work. The friendship factor changes everything. All right, back to everybody. A larger study that we did of both men and women, we found that when someone said they had 3 close friends at work, they were 96% more likely to be extremely satisfied with their life. Having what Gallup calls a best friend at work, or a BFA, makes you 7 times more likely to be engaged in your job. But having 0 best friends at work means you have a 1 in 12 chance of being engaged in with the work you do all day. To ignore friendships is to ignore human nature. And unfortunately, after asking millions of people, only 2 in 10 US employees strongly agree that they have a best friend at work. The opportunity is so clear. So for all of you spouses who have been asked to join your partner's cause and mission, raise your hand if you're a spouse who came to this convention and your spouse drug you here and this is your first time. Let's give them a round of applause for coming and being here. If you're wondering how to get involved, if you're wondering where to start, the most important role you can play is best friend. It will accelerate everything. Be their BFA, their best friend at work. It is so important and changes the way they feel about their entire lives. Start with friendship, and wherever you end up will be dramatically better, statistically speaking, of course. With all of that said, I want to make one thing clear. At Gallup, we know based on millions of data points, it's so much better to focus on strengths than it is to pay attention to stereotypes. The world needs this message more than ever. And focusing on strengths is one of the 6 big shifts I talked about happening around the world as we speak. Now, the father of the strength psychology, Don Clifton, more than 60 years ago asked this question: what will happen when we think about what is right with people rather than fixating on what is wrong with them? This question was significant given that in the 1950s, no one was asking this question. Libraries were full of only what was wrong with people, and there was almost nothing on what is right with us. This question has changed the world for millions of people, because great questions get great answers. One of the first studies that Don Clifton supervised was in the 1950s at the University of Nebraska, where they measured how fast, sorry, you can cheer for Nebraska if you want to cheer for Nebraska. for thousands of students who were reading, and they measured how fast they could all read. And the average student could read 90 words per minute. But then there was this subset of students who could read 350 words per minute. The study put all of these students through the same speed reading training. Now, most assume that those who read 90 words per minute would improve the most because they had the most room for improvement. But what's that based on? There's this assumption that those at 350 words per minute have maxed out their performance. Their development is done. This is what we call a threshold mentality, which says performance can only go so high. So once the training was completed, they administered the same speed reading assessment and measured the improvement. And those who read 90 words per minute jumped to 150, proving it's actually a pretty effective program, especially for me who reads like 80 words per minute. So those who read 350 words per minute did something that surprised everyone. It's actually going to surprise you. When I'm in a smaller room and I ask people to guess how much they improved, the answers are 400, 500, 600 words per minute. Every now and then, I'll get someone who's brave enough to guess 1,000 words per minute. 1,000 words per minute. Now, I want you to remember that this was in the 1950s. These were students reading real books, flipping real pages with real fingers, not like a phone where they're just like flipping, sliding screens. Do you really think someone could read 1,000 words per minute and not end up with 1,000 paper cuts? I like creating the doubt in that moment. It's really awesome. But look at what happened. The answer was 2,900 words per minute. Increased comprehension, increased memory. What we discovered was that these kids who read 350 words per minute had talents akin to photographic memories. Now, sometimes I hear people say, I see, they cheated. No wonder. How else could that happen? But guess what? They did cheat. Using your talents is totally cheating. It is. But here's the real story. Most of these kids were 10th graders, and no one had invested in them. They decided they were amazing readers, so it was time to move on to something else they could work on, an area of improvement. But look at their improvement. This is what we call an excellence mentality. This is where real growth happens. Okay, though, let's bring it a little closer to home. Imagine your child comes home with their report card, and they show you their grades, and they have an A, a B, and an F. Now, in most homes, what's going to get the focus? The F, right? You totally got an A, whoever said that. Think about it now. There are good reasons why you focus on that F. How many colleges and universities are they going to get in with that F? How many full-ride scholarships are coming their way with that big, nasty blemish on their transcripts? I mean, that F could cost some of you as much as $200,000 or more in scholarships. That's a pretty darn good reason to focus on the F. I feel like focusing on someone's F just right now, thinking about how painful that could be. But do you see why we don't focus on strengths? Our entire culture is built around being well-rounded, and therefore you have to close the gap on your weaknesses so that you can be everything instead of just being more of who you are. Interestingly, our Gallup-Purdue Index, which is the largest study of alumni in the nation, around 50,000 graduates, has studied that the success of a university degree, which we define as having a great life and a great job, if you go to an Ivy League college, it gives you zero advantage for having that great life and that great job. Zero advantage. Having a teacher who cares about you as a person is much more predictive of that happening. Now, let me give you another example. Imagine LeBron James and Steph Curry are in a school for sports. They're two of the best basketball players in the world. It's kind of important for you to know that, for you to get this analogy, okay? So LeBron and Steph are in this school, and they have an A in basketball and an F in baseball. I call it the Michael Jordan complex. Now imagine at the parent-teacher conference, the teacher sits down with the parents and says, I've come up with the perfect plan. We're going to put your sons in summer school and robust after-school tutoring for, wait for it, baseball. And in 5 years tops, they'll be world-famous basketball players. So famous, you won't believe it. It doesn't even make sense. That doesn't work, like ever. LeBron and Steph played more basketball to become world-famous basketball players, not less. And yet this is what we are doing to our children, to our employees, and to ourselves. This is the path to benchmarking your life to mediocrity, going from 90 words per minute to 150. So here's the principle. Can you tell I'm passionate about it? So here's the principle I'm trying to share with you. In a weakness-based culture, we reward strengths and we invest in weaknesses. In a strengths-based culture, we manage weaknesses. We don't ignore them, but we do manage them, and we invest in strengths. Many of you had thought that you were focusing on strengths when you rewarded people for getting that A. But a culture is defined by where you invest your time, where you invest your money, and where you invest your efforts. That creates culture. Of course, at Gallup, we turned this into an equation, mainly because it felt nerdy, and we have a lot of nerdy days at Gallup. They're kind of like windy days, but they're not weather-related. It was really just the right thing to do. Most people begin with their dominant talent, or as we define it, a natural way of thinking, feeling, or behaving. Then they invest in those talents by gaining skills, knowledge, and practice. When they do this, raw talent actually serves as a multiplier, and they achieve strength, which we define as the ability to consistently provide near-perfect performance almost every time. Near-perfect performance, that's a high bar. Now, some of you are thinking that maybe you've never achieved near-perfect performance with anything, but you have, and now I'm gonna prove it. So, we're gonna do a quick activity. I want you to pull out your pen and paper, if you haven't already. Go ahead, pull out your pen, get some paper, use your Doterra notebook. I want you to wait for my signal. What I want you to do is I want you to sign your name, just like you do on a receipt or a check, if you can remember what those are. And I want you to sign your name as many times as you can in 15 seconds. But wait till I say go. Wait. Once I say go, I want you to just keep signing your name until I tell you to stop. Okay, you ready? Get your pens ready. On your marks. Get set. Stop, 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 stop. Switch to your non-dominant hand. Make the switch. On your marks. Get set. Go. Keep going. Come on, sign. You only got 15 seconds. And stop. Now look at your neighbor's handwriting. Don't make fun. Just observe the quality. It's a bit shaky, isn't it? Right? I want you to think about how that felt. If you practice with your non-dominant hand every day for 8 hours for an entire month, do you think you could get better? You could, but how would many of you feel? Exhausted or ambidextrous? One or the other. So let's do it again, but this time we'll use your dominant hand. All right, ready? All right, get in your dominant hand now. On your marks, get set, go. 15 seconds. Sign with all you got. And stop. All right. I want you to raise your hand if you signed your name more times than the first time. Yeah. Keep your hand raised if the quality was better. Keep them raised if the consistency from one signature to the next was better. All right, take your hands down. Now, the last thing I'd like you to reflect on is what you were thinking about the first time versus the second time. The first time, you were wondering how to even hold the pen, right? You were like, how do I do that? I just drag the left side of my body around, right? And you were just thinking, now, some of you might have even thought, oh, this hurts, right? Now, the second time, you were just thinking speed. Or maybe you were thinking about something else. See, strength can feel effortless. That's what you were experiencing. Near perfect performance almost every time. Or in other words, strength. You took something with raw talent and you invested in it to the point that you could get money from a bank. You could buy a car with that signature, or you could even begin your journey with Doterra by signing a wellness advocate form. Right? Now imagine starting a new job, or let's just say you want to share these beautiful gifts of the earth, these amazing essential oils with others around you. Imagine doing that with your non-dominant hand. How would that feel? What might you think about the work ahead of you? You might think, I can't do this. And imagine doing that with your dominant hand. How would that feel? All of a sudden, you could be thinking, this is easy, or I can do this. All of you have an area, a talent, where you read 350 words per minute. And the question is, will you invest in strength and go to 2,900 words per minute, or will you spend your life benchmarking yourself to mediocrity? As you focus on those strengths, you'll find that it not only sounds like a good idea, it feels like a good idea. Gallup found that those who focus on using their strengths every day are 3 times more likely to report having an excellent quality of life, and 6 times more likely to be engaged in the work they do all day. When you're at your best, you feel great about who you are and what you do. A study of 2.1 million people, again, a nerdy, overboard number to study, but it felt so good, showed that focusing on your strengths drives business outcomes like performance metrics, better customer experiences, lower turnover or attrition, higher engagement on the job, and increased citizenship or involvement in company programs. Strengths doesn't just feel good, it works. It is the path to success. Don Clifton said, you are successful because of who you are, not because of who you're not. And you can become a whole lot more of who you are. And yet, the world's not focused on strengths. Gallup's found that human development's actually slowing down. When we look at the GDP per capita growth, or essentially the measure of growth in revenue for the United States, we find growth has been slowing for the last 50 years, regardless of political party in power, and the world's trends look similar. As we dug into this, we found there were 3 major drivers of this drop in productivity. Housing has become more expensive without giving us any more value. We pay a lot more for the same house built in the 1970s. Education costs are dramatically more, but a college education actually does less for you today than it did 30 years ago. And finally, there's healthcare. Healthcare costs are skyrocketing, but Gallup's research found we're not getting the same gains from medical innovations as we used to. In fact, life expectancy has dropped for many demographics in America in just the last 20 years. Healthcare needs to be disrupted. Think about it. When do you go to a doctor? When you're sick. When do you take medicine? When you're sick. When do you go to the emergency room? When you've done something to your limbs that you can't undo. All of these say that healthcare starts when there's something wrong with you. However, research has shown us another alternative. We asked people to tell us how many hours they spent focusing on their strengths the previous day. We also asked them if they felt a lot of certain emotions the previous day. The results may seem somewhat familiar to some of you. As people approached using their strengths 10 hours of the day, they reported feeling a lot of happiness, and that increased dramatically. They also felt their energy improved, and they admitted to smiling and laughing a lot that day. On the flip side, their stress dropped dramatically. Their worries started to vanish, and they even felt less physical pain. Many of you have talked about how essential oils can help people work through similar emotions. Because here's why. Focusing on strengths and using essential oils both honor the same principle that healthcare can start when there's something right with us. Essential oils recognize there's something right with your body and it just needs to be reminded of how to properly function at the cellular level. Strengths recognize there's something right with the way you think, feel, and behave, and you can achieve a life of excellence by being at your best. Healthcare really can start when there's something right with you, and we've been given the gifts to make that happen. The more you honor this principle, the more you use those gifts that you've been given inside of you and inside of the earth, the more you will disrupt an industry that needs to change, and we are the people to do it. Gallup has assessed the uniqueness of every person in the world, and we found that the chances someone has the same exact strengths as you is about 1 in 256 undecillion. Totally real number, has 26 zeros. Scientists have estimated that about 106 billion people have lived on Earth, which means, statistically speaking, no one ever has been, no one is now, and no one ever will be like you. You are as unique. You're as unique as you ever thought you were. And if you're not at your best, then your unique contribution will simply be lost. It's that important to be at your best. It's that important to focus on what is right with those around you. Then we will do more than just disrupt healthcare. We will disrupt the entire human experience. Thank you.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Doterra Founding Executive, Sales and Marketing, Emily Wright.
I'm gonna stand by you, even if we break it down. We can find a way right through, even if we can't find heaven. I'll walk through hell with you.
Feel the energy in this room. It's amazing. So it's a bittersweet time, isn't it? It's coming to the end, and we have to leave each other once again. But it's been an amazing week. I have felt more love this week than I think I have ever felt. And I am just so grateful that we were able to spend this moment together. So today, I'm going to shift gears just a little bit, but I think my message ties in so beautifully with what you just heard from Jeremy and Ruth. Today I want to talk a little bit about what changes our self-worth, what might minimize our self-worth. I think today is the time to get raw and real and talk about some of those things that hold us back from really being our best. So when you think about self-worth, there's a lot of things that come into play, and you might look at someone like me and say, she's got all kinds of self-worth, right? She's got confidence. She's created this amazing company. But I want to share with you a little story. Last year, I entered the stage. It was the last day of convention, and I had the closing presentation. And an hour before I took the stage, I was over in my hotel room, curled up in the fetal position in my bed, because I couldn't find the courage to come up and take this stage, because I had all of these self-doubting thoughts come into my mind. Who are you to take that stage and try to inspire these people? Who do you think you are? You have no right to be up there. How many of you have had those feelings where you doubt your self-worth, when you don't realize what you're capable of? That day I had to call an amazing, beautiful friend to come to my aid because I didn't think I could do it. I was about to call David Sterling and ask him if he could close the event for me. And I called this friend and said, "Can you come and help me?" And as she came and looked into my eyes, she said, "Something you have to realize is that you're not responsible for anyone's failures, for anyone's sorrows, for anyone's success. You have one job to do, and that is to let your love pour through you and let your light shine. That's it." And it was amazing as she said those words to me that I know that it was true. But that goes for each and every one of us. There's a heavy load in this world, and we want to do all we can, and sometimes it's overwhelming. Sometimes we feel like we don't measure up, like we don't do enough. I was sitting in the hallway talking to two of my amazing women who report directly to me. And I was pouring out my heart to them because I had just received a text from one of our presidential diamonds. She's one of the strongest people I know. And this text to me said, "I don't think I can do it. I don't think I have it in me. I don't think I'm a good leader. I feel I have failed." As we were having this conversation about how women can be so hard on themselves because we feel like we've got to have a clean house and we've got to look a certain way and our kids need to look just so, and oh yeah, we've got to have purpose in the world too. We've got to do this charitable work and all of these other things, and so many times we feel like we're not measuring up. And as we're having this heartfelt conversation in the hallway, our CIO walks by, and he's like, "Oh, you women, just suck it up, right? You're gonna be just fine, you're awesome," as he walks by. And I thought, sometimes that's the difference between men and women, is that sometimes women can be so hard on themselves. And just as I think I've got it all figured out, that men are strong and bold, right? And they don't deal with all of these self-doubting emotions. I had a conversation with my husband just days later. And I realized as I was going through my own struggles and battles and trying to figure things out, that he too was suffering, and he too was doubting himself and his self-worth. And I realized that it's not gender specific, that each and every one of us do it to ourselves. So often we compare ourselves to others. And in this world of social media that keeps us so connected with one another, but it can also be so damaging to how we feel about ourselves. Because who's real on social media? I think so often the pictures look like you've got a professional photographer following around you, and you've got these filters going on, and everyone's complexion looks perfect. You've got pictures of people out on the beach. You think, my life sucks right now, right? I'll see our presidential diamonds out on vacation and playing with their families and enjoying this freedom that they found. I'm thinking, gosh, I'm stuck in the office working every day. This stinks. Not knowing that they're going through their own battles and their own trials, right? My daughter went to piano lessons about 2 weeks ago. And she came home and she was so excited. She had this Christmas piece that her teacher had given her that was 2 levels above where she is right now. And she was so excited to show it to my older son and daughter because they're wonderful pianists, and she wanted to show them what she was going to learn. And she was dancing around the house that whole night. And the next day, she came back home from school, and she was so down, so depressed. I said, "What's going on, Ashlyn? What happened? Why are you so down?" "Well, Mom, my friend played that same piano piece last year when he was a year younger than I am. I guess I'm not so great after all." She allowed for that situation to steal her joy, not recognizing how amazing she was in that very moment and the journey that she was in. How often do we do that when we look at somebody else and think they've got it all together? They're doing this far better than I am. If only I could be like them. Not recognizing that your gifts and strengths are your own, and not appreciating exactly where you are. So another thing that really minimizes our self-worth is what happens in this world, right? I think oftentimes we think the world owes us something. Well, so-and-so isn't working nearly as hard as I am. I should be at least where they are, if not better, right? They have a nicer home than I have. Why haven't I arrived here? Why am I still in the struggle? So let's talk a little bit about struggle. When I think back about those early days when we started Doterra, it was an amazing, wonderful time. But what many of you may not completely appreciate is the struggle, how hard it was. But I think when we were there in the creation of Doterra, it's no different than where each and every one of you are today. Right? There were days that we didn't know whether we were going to make it or not. There were days, in fact, I remember a time that we placed a large order for essential oils. And we had put together our projections and our forecasts of where we thought the company was going to grow to, and we placed this order. And we realized that we had spent everything that we had. And we didn't know whether the company was going to make it or not. And we were trying to figure out where we could get more funding. We didn't know how we were going to make payroll, how we were going to continue to move forward. But yet there was a belief and a determination within our hearts that we were not about to give up. It's amazing how things just came together. I'll never forget a day that Dave Sterling came into the office, and this is after we had already taken out the equity out of our homes and were living off of our savings and sold everything we had, cashed out 401ks. I mean, there wasn't anything left. And he came to me and he said, "Emily, you need to go to the bank and you need to withdraw your entire line of credit." And I said, "Dave, that means now we have to start making payments on it." And I was hoping not to have to start doing that until later so that we can live off the savings for a little bit longer. And he said, "Don't walk, run. Go now." So I ran. I ran to the bank and I pulled that entire line of credit out. And I came back to the office, not understanding the magnitude of that moment. The next day is when the news announced that the housing market had crashed. This was in early 2008. One of the partners wasn't there at that time, wasn't able to go to the bank and withdraw his line of credit. And when he got back 2 days later, he had a letter in the mail stating that his line of credit had been frozen because our homes were no longer worth what they had been just a few months earlier. There were hard times, but I'm grateful for the miracles. I'm grateful that we persevered and that we had a clear vision of where we were going. And you might look at the company today and think, wow, isn't it amazing to see the fruits that have come from those early days? But I'm here to tell you that that struggle continues, that it hasn't gone away, that it hasn't gotten easier. There continues to be trials. There continues to be hardships. Most of them are suffered silently. We just went through a horrific trial, the trial of our lives this year. Lasted 5 weeks. As we sat in a courtroom, and for 5 weeks, we were told what terrible, awful people we were over and over and over again. And I can tell you, after coming out of that trial, I questioned my self-worth in a really big way. And I came home very inspired to play small. It's like I'm done. I'm tired of putting myself out there. I'm tired of being vulnerable. I'm tired of being strong. I just want to come home and curl up in a blanket and be small. But that's not where the joy comes from. We weren't intended to play small, were we? Each and every one of us were created for greatness. And there's a gift inside each and every one of us, and we have to figure out what that gift is. We have to step through that darkness of fear, of self-doubt. Say, I'm here. I'm willing to fight the fight. I'm willing to stand up for what I believe in. I'm a huge fan of Brené Brown. And I want to read this quote from Theodore Roosevelt that she refers to. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best in the end, the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. So I choose to dare greatly. I choose to throw myself back into the arena. I choose not to give up. But I think it's also important that we own our stories, that we don't try to pretend to be perfect, because we're not. There isn't a single perfect person in this room. And I think each and every one of us know our weaknesses, but I hope that you can figure out your strengths, as Jeremy was talking about, and accentuate those strengths. I want to share a little bit with you about who I am. and where I came from and why I love so deeply. This story is a hard one for me to share, but I felt strongly. It wasn't planned, but I was standing behind here. I felt there's someone here that needs to hear my story. When I was a young girl, it was larger than life. I thought I could conquer the world. And as I graduated from high school with honors, I fell in love with a boy. And I married him before I'd even turned 18 years old. My mother had to sign for me to get married. And I took those college scholarships and put them on hold because I felt that this was my opportunity for love. This man became very abusive, became an alcoholic. At the age of 19, I had my first baby. That baby was born still. She's my angel, my perfect angel. At the age of 20, I had my first beautiful, breathing son. I had another beautiful daughter to follow. Until one day my son came to me and said, "Mom, how long are you going to let him hit you?" I thought I was keeping that from my children. I thought I was being strong, and through that process, I lost my identity. I didn't know who I was anymore. I had absolutely no self-worth. This young girl who had graduated so strong was gone. I didn't know who she was anymore. Finally had the courage, after 7 years, to get out of that marriage. Found myself the single mother of 2 beautiful children. Through that process, I had to figure out who I was, figure out what my purpose was in this world, and I lived for my children. 2 years later, I found the most amazing man who loved me for who I was, who breathed belief into me, and who has been by my side ever since for 18 years. He is my rock, the wind beneath my wings. But if you wonder why I love so deeply, it's because I've been where you're at. I know heartache. I know pain. I know what it feels like to have your dreams pulled away from you. What I love about Doterra is that we get to give every single person an opportunity to rise, to recognize their value and their purpose, because life can be hard, and we have to stand by each other. Jeremy had talked about there only being one you. There never was, never will be another person just like you. Each one of us look very different. We're different shapes, we're different sizes, we're different colors. We come from different walks of life. Each one of us think differently. We have very unique personalities, but we also have very, very unique gifts, don't we? These gifts are meant to be used for good in this world. So I hope that each one of you will choose to step into the darkness, to recognize your strengths, to recognize your purpose in the world, to rise, because you were created for greatness. And don't ever, ever, ever allow anyone to tell you differently. There is nothing you can't accomplish. So, You've learned a lot this week. You've been educated. You've been inspired. I hope that you're leaving with your cups full. But you have a decision to make as you leave this building. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to do what I wanted to do a few months ago and play small and go hide out on the couch under a blanket? It sounded really cozy. I really wanted to do it. Are you going to choose to rise and to let your light shine and to let these gifts that you have go out and bless the world? So I'll make you a promise. If you promise to rise, I promise to rise, and I promise not to play small. So I want each and every one of you to say it with me. Ready? I will rise. One more time. I will rise. I love you so much. Have an amazing time. See you next year. Bye-bye.
When you're broken down and tired, living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we can walk it out and move mountains. We can walk it out, move mountains. I'll rise up, rise like a day. I'll rise up, rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. Yeah, I'll rise up, high like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, oh, for you. When the silence isn't quiet and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe, and I know you feel like dying, but I promise you we'll bring the world to its feet and move mountains, bring it to its feet. I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. You, with you, for you, oh, for you. All we need is hope, and for that we have each other. Yes, for that we have each other. We will rise, we will rise, we'll rise up, rise like a day. We'll rise up, rise unafraid. We'll rise up, and we'll do Oh, we'll rise up, we'll rise like the waves, we'll rise up. In spite of the ache, we'll rise up, and we'll do it 1,000 times again. Of you and you.
My name is Jenny Walsh, and I'm married. My husband is Brent, and I have 2 wonderful kids, Gideon Walsh and Eden, and I have one on the way. I have 7 years experience as a registered nurse, and again, like I said, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, and I'm also a doTERRA wellness advocate. As long as I can remember, I've wanted to be a nurse since I was a little kid. I always liked to take care of people, especially physically. When anyone had a cut or a scrape, I always wanted to be the first one to rush and give them a Band-Aid or whatever. So I went to school for nursing, became a registered nurse, and have about 7 years experience. Most of that time is in the hospital on a general medical unit. You know, when you're in nursing school, you aren't taught natural options for healthcare. Like, I don't remember anything being taught about natural options. So when I got introduced to essential oils, it was a foreign world to me. Like, it was a whole new concept. I didn't have that trust in essential oils like I did in modern medicine, which is really so backwards. Why wouldn't you go to changing what you eat, focusing on a healthier lifestyle, going to things natural to help support your body? You know, everyone uses the word empowered a lot, but it's the perfect word. It's empowering to have essential oils right at your fingertips when something goes on. And the more you use them, the more success you're gonna have.